welcome to the second part of the Winners Enclosures Cheltenham Festival preview, where myself, Izzy, Phillips and Frankie Foster are back looking at the final 2 days of the festival. And with all the introductions done in the first one, we'll go straight into it. First race on the Thursday, the Turners Novices Chase over 2 mile 3 furlongs and 168 yards. I think, like we discussed in part one, this is a race with double entries for a lot. Bob Ollinger tops the market at even money. Galloping the Champs 2-1. The Hom Press now into 7-2 best price. 12-1 Jungle Boogie and 16-1 Bar. Apart from that, with a lot of horses with double entries. Izzy, we'll start with you. Where are you looking at this one?
I think obviously in our last video, we've all kind of said that it looks like Galloping the Champs is going to go in the Brown Advisory, which probably leaves this a little bit more open for Bob Ollinger, to be honest with you. I mean, I think his name has become a bit of a household name in racing now after the coup last year. Everyone lumping on. So I really like him for this, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously there's a couple more that go in here that again we discussed for the Browns advisory. So L'Homme Pressé being one of them is, like you say, shortening in the market all the time. I don't know that I personally think that Bob Ollinger, you're looking at, and Galloping de Champs both are in a different league to L'Homme Pressé and a Hoissignor and you know the likes. But yeah, I think I'm sticking with Bob Ollinger.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout, like we talked about. I think L'Homme Pressé is the only one, if it's going to beat it. Frankie, what are you looking at? Are you a Bob Ollinger fan as well?
I'm going to be brave and go L'Homme Pressé. Going to be brave. Izzy's very right. Bob Ollinger's been running in much better company, beating Bacardi's, I think, first chase start, and then beating Capodanno by 4.5 lengths. Very, very good form. But it hasn't taken to chasing as clean as I'd like to have seen it. Similarly, how I said kind of Edwardstone has probably looked a little smarter, whereas Riviera Teller's maybe running some tougher races, and I'm willing to take my chance on the nice jumping, smart chasing horse. I would give L'Homme Pressé a shout here. Fairly short at 7-2 now, but it jumps well, fronts runs. If it turns for home and kicks on a little bit, could maybe get Bob Ollinger in a spot of bother if it doesn't jump the last two that tidily, which it doesn't always jump that tidily. L'Homme Pressé has been getting better and better since chasing. I'd like to have seen Bob Ollinger maybe go over fences another time before coming to Cheltenham. Obviously they know what they're doing better than I do. From Ed, we'll have it in good form. But just off of what we've seen, L'Homme Pressé is getting better and better. It's taking the chasing really well. It looks a real good chaser, and I think it's got a chance against what is a machine. But yeah, I'd take it on. I'd be brave.
I think it's probably very brave for a lot of people. A lot of people will be having Bob Ollinger as one of the strongest bets of the week, being not odds against at this stage. I think if Galloping the Champs probably does go for the Brown Advisory like we think it will be, 5 to 6, maybe even shorter on the day. But I think L'Homme Pressé now very interesting, 8-1 early in the month, and then now 7-2. A lot of people getting behind it, and I think if the British have a good first few days, it could be even shorter. And the Irish, but it's the same. If the Irish have a good few days, I think Bob Ollinger will be a lot shorter. So, and I think, as we've said, there's so many double entries that we covered in the first one, that if they turn up here, they maybe still aren't as good as Bob Ollinger and L'Homme Pressé. So I think it's very difficult to look away from them. So we'll move on to the Ryanair, and this could be another one-horse race, couldn't it, really? And I think for a lot of people, it's their bet of the festival, with Allaho at 4-5. Energamines at 7-1, but looks like going to the Champion Chase. A Plutard's in at 8-1, he'll go for the Gold Cup. Chamblou looks definitely to go here. Speaking to Harry Skelton in the week, did a little interview with him. You can catch it all on the Winners Enclosures YouTube. Chamblou at 9-1 might be the play each way, and it looks like the Irish Gold Cup with a conflated at 10-1 could end up here. Frankie, who do you like?
I think it's Allaho's to lose, and I think at current prices, like you said, this I think for me is the bet of the festival for a shorty. The interest won't be conflated for me if it runs here. David Russell, said that it's a fairly quick course, and he tried to use that to his advantage to win the Irish Gold Cup at Dublin Racing Festival. And I think, given at this distance, David Russell on board again, he's a genius horseman. And if it is a quick course and he can nick a few lengths, then may have a chance. I don't know where they were planning on putting this horse for Cheltenham, but I know that Gordon came out and said the owners had to persuade him to run it at the Dublin Racing Festival. He didn't want to, so maybe he had plans to come to the Ryanair, and now they might be confused whether it goes Ryanair or straight to the Gold Cup. I don't know that. You might.
I think before the Dublin Racing Festival, you wouldn't have been surprised to see him in like a Paddy Power plate, like a handicap race. You wouldn't have said like any different if someone said that was in the race. So for that to go and win so well, and I think they've said the Gold Cup's a bit slightly too far with it being a quick course. At 10-1, it could be the each way play, but I think, Izzy, are you on the Allaho train as well?
I'm not actually. I think he could be vulnerable. I quite like Chamblou. I think, obviously, you've got to look, he was going great guns at Wembley before he fell. And we just don't know. And it's one of those things, I mean, I know, Frankie, in our previous video, you mentioned, like, appreciate it. You come out, haven't seen the horse, and you think, well, it could come out and do anything. I think Chamblou's one of those. He could come out and be really, really good here. And, I mean, you know, I know that perhaps in terms of quality of race, it perhaps wasn't that, but I just thought it was so impressive. So sad, but he was so impressive at the same time. It's just how much you're going to take out of that. And it's not always just about the sort of positions. If you think about the tactics in the race as well, if Chamblou's really serving it up to Allaho, it could be a slightly different outcome than perhaps we're all expecting.
I think, well, strange things have happened. I can see where you're coming from with that. With just me personally, I just think Allaho, they'll both go off in front. I think Chamblou will have a go at it, and if it's good enough, we'll go with it. And if not, it won't. But I think if there's a horse that's going to go with it from the front, it will be Chamblou. And like you said, in the Charlie Hall Chase, before it came down, it was going at some serious revs. I don't think Harry Skelton even know how quick it was going. So I think, you could be onto something there. I think a solid each way bet, if it goes, and probably one to non-runner no bet, is Fakir Duderies at 12s. Finishes second to Allaho all the time. I just don't know after that Ascot Chase whether it will wait for Aintree and go for the Melon Chase like it did last year.
I think it is, yeah.
That seems to be the thoughts. And he's got to do a 12-length turnaround on Allaho as well, isn't he? So it's a lot to reverse.
He might be a horse, Fakir Duderies, if he goes just to back straight on the place and not on the wing. So I don't think it will be Allaho. But I think I wouldn't think he'd come out the top 3 or 4. And just one other to mention, Eldorado Allen ran brilliantly for the step-up trip. 14-1. Do you think that could get involved each way, Frankie?
I do. Did that? Yeah, most recently won at Newbury. Yeah, being Royal Pagaille. It was impressive. Was very impressive at Newbury most recently, and second behind Mr. Fisher, which is another smart horse. So definitely in with a shout. I probably wouldn't be backing, but a 14-1. There's no reason why it couldn't be in the play. There's a few different angles, isn't there? With Chamblou, we haven't seen since falling, Conflated. An unexpected winner at Dublin Racing Festival. For Fakir Duderies, as you said, is a smart horse that maybe hasn't got his credit because it's been behind Allaho, and Eldorado Allen's done. Oh, it's getting better, and Tizzards are in good form as well at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. Just for me to finish on this race, I do think, like I said, with Shishkin in part 1, that would probably be my bet. Shishkin in part 1 for the festival, but Allaho for me would probably be my bet for part 4. Yeah, I know they're both short prices, but if I was going to have a double, I'd probably be them 2 at this stage. Moving on to the Stayers Hurdle, and this is where it gets a bit more tricky for all of us. I think this race should be called the Nutters Hurdle because it is that I've never known a race with so many
mixed
people
form
at the top of the market that are coming into it off of like falling or a loss. You got Flooring Porters last year, winner at 7-2 favourite that lost on its last run to Classical Dream. You got Champ who lost to Paisley Park at 5-1. Classical Dream blew up last time at Gorham Park, 5-1. Time Hill got beat by Champ at 5-1. And you got Paisley Park at 7s that won, but
Also got beat by Champ.
Yeah, also got beat by Champ. So this is what I mean. Izzy, we'll go with you on this. Where'd you start?
I don't believe the Paisley Park that got beat by Champ is the Paisley Park we saw last time, though. I think that I think that he had a real issue with his form, and I just think he was struggling. But I think they've got him right. I'm going to go on record now and say Paisley hacks up. That's it. That's the tweet from me. Paisley hacks up. Like, I have nothing else to say on this. I'm sorry. I think that, you know, you don't give good horses 20 length start and still come through and win it like that. That flat spot made no difference that time. And I think, you know, if Emma Lavelle's got him, is it Emma Lavelle? Or I just completely made that up.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Emma Lavelle. If she's got him right, which I believe, looking at that last race she has, I think he's unbeatable.
I think I tell you what, you'd be probably the most popular person on Twitter if we put that clip out and Paisley Park. There's so many people that love this horse, me included. I love Paisley Park. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And you're right, giving that much 20 lengths away at the start for them to come back and win against Champ, who's a bloody good horse. He does stay longer than any horse I've ever seen over 3 miles. Like, if you look at all his races, even though he's been finishing third, he's made up 20, 30 lengths, like jumping the last. So it's definitely claims to Paisley Park. And looking at stats, horses do like coming into this race off the back of a win. So, yeah, Paisley Park will be a very popular winner for you, Izzy. Frankie, where's your shout in this one?
I hope I'm the second most popular man on Twitter, because it's Paisley Park for me too. Yeah. Team Paisley. I think it would be, it would get the biggest cheer, wouldn't it, if he won? And I agree with Izzy. Not the Paisley Park that we know, and not the right bit of form earlier in the year. And it's just progressed slightly. I think it was beat fairly well up at Wetherby, wasn't it? And then beaten at Newbury, but looked slightly better. Then beaten at Ascot by Champ and looked slightly better again. And then finally won at Cheltenham when was extremely impressive, giving all of 10, 15 lengths away at the start. And there's nothing to say that it won't be even better again. Horse just seems to be absolutely loving it, and he loves Cheltenham. Has won this race before. Has won the prep race before. He's took the same route before. There's so many question marks about all of these. As you said, the Nutters Hurdle. But the one that has been most impressive last time out and has proven himself here and in this race for me is Paisley Park.
Yeah, I think, well, you'd both be the two most popular people on Twitter. I think you've got to have claims to Paisley Park, but like you said, you could have claims for Flooring Porter win the race last year, been kept away for this race, and I think he didn't run badly at all behind Classical Dream.
No,
gave away lengths at the start, and maybe wouldn't have lost if doing that at the start. So I think Flooring Porter is fairly solid, if solid's one thing to say in this race, but I think it will be in the frame. I think Champ's got question marks. I think Classical Dream's got question marks. We don't know what Classical Dream will turn up. Time Hill, solid horse, really solid horse, I think. I think it runs its race, but does it win? That's the problem. It runs its heart out. It's just like Paisley. But if I was going to have probably a bet now at 7-1 Paisley and 5-1 Time Hill, you'd go Paisley Park, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. So I think one just to mention is Royal Kahala. I think very interesting. We'll be getting £7 off the field. I know it's in the Mares Hurdle as well, but won over 3 mile last time. I think it's quite a nice horse that could maybe be the value. But again, I don't know if it's going here. I don't know. But if you look down this field, you've got Asterion Forlonge. I don't think he'll come here, but there's another nutter.
I know. What if something like that got chucked in, a Melon or an Asterion Forlonge?
Yeah, you got Sporting John that's been running in Potemps qualifiers, and then it's won in big races. It's a race that could throw out a big price winner. But I think if you're going to have an anti-post bet now, it may be listening to you two could be Paisley.
We've swayed you.
I think we've got you on.
I love Paisley Park. I love Paisley Park. And I looked at him. He was 33-1 before winning the Cleve Hurdle. His third Cleve Hurdle, 33-1. And that was an unbelievable price. And because I haven't backed it then, I probably won't back it at sevens because I didn't get on at 33-1. I'd be heartbroken. But if it won, I think it'd be brilliant. It'd be brilliant for the sport if Paisley won. So, but it's a bit of a minefield race anyway. The final race on the Thursday we're going to cover is the Mares Novices Hurdle. Now, this race has been dominated by Willie Mullins, winning five of the last 6 races. And even though last year got knocked off his pedestal by Tell Me Something Girl, you look at the top of the market this year and it's Allegora Devassi 7-2, Brandy Love 4-1, Dino Blue 6-1, all Mullins. LS Bell's in at 7s, but speaking to Harry Skelton the other week, he thinks that might just wait for Aintree. Obviously, that's not undecided yet, but it looks more like going to Aintree. Party Central, she's 12-1 to 7-1 over the last few days, running in a handicap last time out. And then you got another Mullins one in Grangy, and then another one for the English in Love Envoy at 12-1. So, Frankie, we'll start with you on this. Who do you fancy?
It's another one where there's 4 or 5. Ella Bell was my bet, but as you said, unlikely to go. I think she had a very good chance running in that listed race and winning that last time out. But if it's not her, Party Central you mentioned was another impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival. But the one I settled on was the last 12-1 Love Envoy, as I say. I would say Love Envoy, but Love Envoy I think is how you say it. Has been winning its races and pulling like mad, and hasn't quite settled, hasn't quite ran the race how they'd like to see it, and she still won. She looks a tough mare that in one where I can't kind of find one I really like at the top and I can pick holes in a few, I'd maybe keep going down the market and settle on Harry Fry's Love Envoy.
Okay, yeah, so it's a nice way to look at it. Izzy, who do you like in this?
You know, I was exactly the same as Frankie. I really liked LA Bell. I think she could win this. I mean, it's a bit gutting, but obviously I'm not a trainer, so I'm not to know. Party Central for me, like like Frankie said, you can pick a few holes, and Party Central, I worry that she just idled on the run in a little bit actually. And obviously Allegory Devassi looks very good. She's beat quite a few of these. But yeah, I'm actually with Frankie. I think she probably a bit too short for me, and there's so many favourites and it does get a little bit samey, so looking for a little bit more value, I really like Love Envoy as well.
I think it's definitely a way to look at it in this race, and when you've got Allegora Devassi at the front of the market, obviously a very nice horse, but might turn out to be a better horse going over fences next year. And although a nice horse this year, might find one too good in this, also carrying a £5 penalty, I might say. So that's very tough to overcome. I think Brandy Love, she jumped so out to her left last time. If she was to jump straight, she'd be very, very tough to beat, I think. And obviously now getting the £5 off Allegora Devassi. And Dino Blue on debut looked really, really good. But again, we've only seen her once, so we don't know how good she is. But JP McManus, Willie Mullins, you can't go wrong, really, can you? So I think there's a lot of different angles into this, and I think the way you might have played it might come off because there's so many question marks about so many of the horses. Because it is a mare's novice, we've only seen him 2 or 3 times, and it might be worth taking a price, but we'll have to wait and see on the day. So we'll move on to the Friday, and I think one of the best renewals of this Triumph Hurdle will be this year with Vauban at the top of the market, Pied Piper, Fildor, they're all up there at the top of the market, and I think they're going to turn out to be very special horses. Vauban's in at 2-1, Pied Piper 9-4, Fildor 11-2. You've also got for the English, Gary Moore, Porticello is very impressive last weekend, and Dan Skelton has got Dr. Parnassus, an ex-David O'Meara flat horse that looks a really nice horse, but maybe not be good enough for the Irish. Izzy, who are you siding with on this one?
Well, I think with that Vauban Pied Piper kind of rematch, I'm in the Vauban camp. I just think that over a little further, I think that's he was obviously coming back at Pied Piper all the way. So those few extra furlongs, I think he quite easily get the job done. However, I do quite like the chances of Porticello for the Moors. I just think he did look quite impressive. The thing is I know we mentioned earlier in the video, you kind of get trapped in the like what you call most recent form, like what's the last
recent
ones that are in your memory. And actually I think that could be the case with Porticello. I don't necessarily want to get trapped, but I was impressed, and when I saw him in here, I thought actually he looks quite a nice price. But yeah, probably Vauban for the win. But I mean, the forecasts are probably going to be the thing that everyone goes for here, aren't they, with Pied Piper? But something like Porticello, you see, could mess all that up and get right involved.
I think you are right in a way with this, because it's a Triumph hurdle. They're very inexperienced horses, even though they look like Vauban. I was at the Dublin Racing Festival and watching Vauban that day. He made so many mistakes, but still coming around that bend and jumping the last was absolutely brilliant. And I'd find it hard for Phil Dorr, even though it's very different track, Cheltenham. I'd find it hard for him to come back with Vauban on that. I do think Pied Piper was brilliant at Cheltenham. I think it's a great matchup. One I do just want to mention is that Il Ete Tomps. I'm not the best at French, but that was its first time running for Willie Mullins, and to finish third in a Grade 1. It's a very good effort, I think. I think that's got a lot of improvement to come, and I think 16 to 1's a great price about that. Other ones I just want to touch on. Night Salute look to be running this weekend. Also with Pleasant Man, that's been backed, maybe just because it's running this weekend, for Paul Nicholls, who had Solo and has also done well in the race over the last few years in the Adonis. So maybe there'll be shorter prices come the off. Frankie, where are you looking with this in the Triumph?
You make a fair point on Il Ete Tom. Third and first run behind Vauban and Phil Dorr. It's not bad form at all, is it? And as you said, in the Triumph, they're young horses, and things can change and things can be turned around. So if I was going to have an each way, I hadn't had a look at that, but I definitely think that's a one to play. But I can't see past Vauban. Form with Pied Piper, if it jumped the last better, I think would have won. Over slightly further, I think wins. Phil Dorr, I don't think will turn the form around from Dublin Racing Festival. I think Vauban will improve again. I think it's a decent price. What do you say, 2 to 1?
Yeah, and it was 9 to 4, 2 or 3 days
ago.
Yeah,
I think it's a decent price. I can't see Phil Dorr or Pied Piper getting past. Porticello, I'm not convinced on.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best renewals of a Triumph I've seen in a long time. As in, even though last year Quilipios up against Tritonic, and you had Horse and Colors, like it was a great race. But I think we know more slightly about we've seen Pied Piper go up the Cheltenham Hill, we've seen Vauban go and win a Grade 1, we've seen Phil Dorr go and win Grade 3, Grade 2s. I just think it's a real good. I do find it hard, maybe for the English to win this one. Even though Porticello is a lovely horse, unless it turned really soft for that horse, I probably couldn't have it. But I do like Vauban myself as well.
Vauban, just the way, even the way it ran against Pied Piper, it was messy, but it looks so quick when it gets going. If it jumps fluently, it looks a rapid horse, and I can't say anything. I think the best point you've made is that Il Ete Tom, one race in third, it could have a great shout.
Yeah, 16 to 1 is probably not a bad each way play, but again, it's another tricky one, the Triumph, and I think it's another great matchup. Like we're going to have Energumene, Mishkin, maybe not to that level, but Vauban Pied Piper is going to be a really, really good race. Another nice race, but again, a bit of a minefield, is the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle over 3 miles. At the top of the market, we've got Manella Crooner, now in at 4 to 1. Hillcrest, after its win at the weekend, 9 to 2. Into in here, but also in the Ballymore, it's a 6 to 1. Manella Kakuna again in the Ballymore as well. That's 9 to 1. Hollow Games 10 to 1. Bardenstown Lad for John McConnell's one that's been backed. It's now into 14 to 1. And Journey with Me being on the drift at 14 to 1. It's at 14 to 1 is Chantreuse, and the Nice Guy at 14 to 1 as well for Willie Mullins. So Izzy, where have you put your money down on this one, or are you going to?
I'm going to keep it very simple with this one, to be honest with you. I think Hillcrest's going to tank in. I just think that he was quite unlucky to unseat, and because of that, Henry Daly's got another run into him, and I just think he'll be prime. So right at the end of the week as well. So not, it's that little bit more of a break for the race, which is perfect. And I just think he's going to love it. Can't see past him. Henry Daly's coming into some good form as well at the moment. So one to watch, definitely.
I think so.
Well, not even just one to watch, one to back, to be completely honest with you. Get your money down, guys.
Yeah. I think one thing about Hillcrest that's quite nice is that under Henry Daly, it's had quite a lot of time to mature. If you look at when they brought it over to Henry Daly, it didn't actually race for a long time, and then this season they've let it go. And I was actually at Haydock at the weekend, and the way that ran, and he went up against Greenbook coming around that corner. Them two were going a right go at that, and obviously Greenbook's a good horse and couldn't stay with it, and it went on to win still quite well. So it's definitely a good bet. It's been backed into 9-2 now, but I think you'd have worse bets in this race, definitely. Frankie, where are you looking at this? All I'd say is that this race over the last few years has been won at bigger prices. Vanillier, I think, was 12-1. You had Minella Indo, 50-1. Where are you looking, Frankie?
Same. Hillcrest, we're on. Hillcrest was actually
Casey Park double.
Yeah, there we go. That's your value double for the podcast. It was the last leg of Mayaka actually at Haydock, and I was getting very worried, going, "Oh God, they're taking each other on, and they're gonna, kill each other." And another horse that will just sitting behind one of these will die out eventually. And the way that Hillcrest took Greenbrook on, and they went hammer and tong, and then just kept going, was so impressive, in my opinion. You see it so often when two horses take each other on earlier in the race and tire each other out. Hillcrest was not tiring at all. Was very, very impressive. And I think if it runs here, I'd be really fancying it.
I think with Hillcrest, you're definitely going to get a run for your money, as in it'll stay the 3 miles. Because if you look in the past, like the horse I've just mentioned, Vanillier and Minella Indo, they're like Vanillier is probably going to go for National Chase 3 mile 6. Minella Indo's won a Gold Cup 3 mile 2. It's horses that stay, and you've got to stay. But I do think Minella Crooner at the top of the market will definitely want all of the 3 miles. If you look at it in the Dublin Racing Festival over the 2 mile 6, I think it was, in that first grade one, it was coming all day. And just because it clattered the second to last out and then got going again after that, it maybe didn't win the race. But I think you can avoid hollow games. I don't think that's as good as horse I think they are. I think Minella Kakuna, I think if it goes here, Minella Crooner will overturn the deficit with that. But yeah, again, it's a tough race, but Hillcrest would be a nice bet, definitely at 9-2. Moving on to the race of the festival, the Gold Cup. I don't think I really need to introduce the horses, but I will. A Plutard at 10-3 now. Galvin in at 4-1. Minella Indo 5-1. Protectorat at 9-1. Alboon Photo dual winner at 10-1. King George winner Tornado Flyer in at 14-1, and Chantry House 18-1 at Royal Pagaille 20s. Izzy, we'll start with you again. Is it as straightforward as backing A Plutard, or is there a value elsewhere?
I'm as straightforward as backing Royal Pagaille, to be completely honest with you. That's it. There we go. I haven't warmed to quite a lot of the first few in the market, and I just think that Royal Pagaille, I know he didn't get the job done last was it last time out? If I just
Newbury
made that up.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with him the time before at Haydock, and I think, if I'm right, he beat, who did he beat there? Yes, Remastered, who I think's quite a good stamina horse, to be completely honest with you. I've put Remastered up a few times. And I just think, especially if you do get that slightly softer ground, perhaps it wasn't quite soft enough for him last time out, but I quite like him here. So I think at 20-1, he's a great play, because you can pick holes in a few of these at the top of the market. You can.
I think at 20-1 is definitely worth a go. If he was, say, 12-1, you could maybe look at leaving it alone because it may be too short a price. But 20-1, definitely you'd have a go, especially if the heavens opened on that Friday or on the Thursday afternoon. Because if that got deep ground on a stamina test, it's exactly what it wants. If you look at it with Royal Pagaille, there were to and fro in last year whether to go to National and Chase or this. So it's definitely got stamina in abundance. It's won over way further. So a 20-1 shot. The worst ways to go in this race, definitely. Frankie, where are you looking in this one?
I'm a big fan of Galvin. I really fancy Galvin to give this a good go. I think the horse has just been getting better and better and better every single time we see him. Cheltenham form was great. Second, the first, and the first last 3 times out. Last one, obviously, at the festival last year. And since then, won a race in Ireland, second behind Frodon, who I think that day was very tuned up and ready to go. And Frodon ran his race that he wanted, and Galvin wasn't far behind at all. I think it was a short head in that race. And then most recently, beating Aplutar and Kemboy. You could say there were some question marks over Aplutar's run, but Galvin got the job done, and he always seems to do that. And as I said, every single time we've seen this horse, it seems to have got better and stepped up to the mark. And I don't see any reason why back at Cheltenham he can't step up yet again and win this. I mean, it's a competitive race as ever, the Gold Cup, but I'd make a good case for Galvin. He'd be there for sure.
I think you bang on with it personally. For me as well, I think Galvin's could be very tough to beat, just because I like the angle in with Royal Pagaille and stamina, but I just think Galvin, if you look at its run in that National and Chase, the way it kept coming. Jack Kennedy was never in trouble, and then came up the inside. And I just think, as you say, it's getting better and better, and I think it's a good bet. It's been back slightly in, was 92, now 4-1. I still think that's a very good price. You could look at others in here. Protectorat hasn't really done a lot wrong. If you look what it's run, I didn't think it would stay the 3 mile in the many clouds, and it did, and it won well. And the Skeltons definitely like it. Album Photo, dual winner, knows exactly what it needs to do to win. And another one with Tornado Flyer. No one really fancied it for the King George, but you've got to be a good horse to win that race. Obviously not been seen since then, being left for this race. I think you just don't know, but I think Galvin could be a solid bet at 4-1.
I'll be getting excited if Phil Dore won. I've got Galvin and Phil Dore at 33s each, so I'll be getting very excited if Phil Dore won the Triumph.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I don't think it will.
I think one horse. There's nothing against the horse at all, really, but there's one horse that if it won, I wouldn't be happy, and that would be Santini at 66-1.
Oh, I love that horse.
I love it. I really just think it's a bit of a boat, and I don't think it's good enough. It's good enough, but it's almost, it seems to be, when I don't think it's good enough. Like when it came second to Album Photo, I was thinking, if this wins, I don't know what I'll do, because I look at it all the time. But at 66-1s, there's worse plays. There's actually worse plays in the race than that said.
When
66.
Santini came second to Album Photo, it should have won, in my opinion. Got switched twice. I think would have won with a better run. It could win. I'll go mad if it wins.
Well,
I couldn't have it.
You've got to look at Album Photo.
Definitely.
Coming here on a winning run, loves the race, loves the track, time of year, a whole lot. I mean, that could be one for your record books.
Oh, definitely. Like at 10-1 now.
What price is that?
10-1. Album Photo. About a dual Gold Cup winner at 10-1. I know it's getting on now, but I think it's a good price.
Yeah.
I think it's a good price. So it's Galvin for you, Frankie, and Royal Pagaille for you in that. So the last race we're going to cover on this part 2 of the Cheltenham Festival preview is the Grade 2 Mayor's Chase, only its second ever running, and Constita's 11-4 favourite, Ellie May 3-1, Mount Ida 3-1, Riviera de Telling at 8, but looks like going to the Arkle, the Glancing Queen at 10-1, Gin on Lime at 12-1, Zambella at 12-1, Put the Kettle on at 16s, but it looks like we'll probably go Champion Chase, and Vienna Court at 16-1. Frankie, we'll start with you on this one. Who are you looking at?
I'm struggling for a strong opinion in this, if I'm honest. If you were forcing me to have one, do you know what? I think everyone was, wasn't they? Last year, kind of all chips in on Ellie May, and it's been disappointing and question marks since. Now she could be one to refine some form. I can't quite have her to win this. So going further down, Gin on the Line is maybe where I'd settle. Obviously had that very strange race with my Droga, which was a weird one to watch. I don't think she would have won that race, but the last 2 or last 3 times running in mixed sex races and performing fairly well and here in Mare's company, I think could have a shot at 12 to 1.
Yeah, I think this is another race where you could look for value because you could pick holes on the top of the market. Like Concertista, I personally think it might be a big shout, and I might have egg on my face, but I think it's the worst favourite of the festival this season. I think the 11 to 4 about Concertista, when it hasn't done as much as over fences as what some of these have, I think I'd be willing to definitely take this on and get this beat. Izzy, what do you think?
I mean, obviously Concertista's got an entry in just about every mare's race on the card. She seemed like she's enjoyed chasing, to be honest. So, you know, she's probably a worthy favourite. But as Frankie mentioned, Ellie Mae did let the gamble down, bless her. But I do love her. Like she ran a really nice race the other day. And I think that she could come back in this. I mean, she got pipped by Cole Reevy last year. And I'd like her to come back. Again, it's one of those where you've got so many favourites across the 4 days that, you know, people are really going to be banking on a lot of these Irish bankers. And I think now, because for the past couple of years we've seen that, and we've seen that the charge from elsewhere has been almost so minimal, it's one of those. But I just think maybe Ellie Mae as one of your perhaps other strings, so to say, because you're going to have Concertista as your first string there, aren't you? So I'd like Ellie Mae to fight back. I'd like to see her come back.
I'm on pretty much the same wavelength. I think this is another race where I've found it very difficult to have a look at because it's just so hard. And if I was going to have a go, it'd probably be on the day. But I think Ellie Mae, I'd love her to win. I think Cole Reevy is a very, very good horse. We didn't know how good she was, a horse, I think, against Ellie Mae, because they were very and ahhing last year. Was Cole Reevy going to go? Wasn't she? And then when she turned up, she won. And then she's gone on to beat Monkfish and Envoy Allen. So she's obviously a very good horse. So, and with Ellie Mae, got back to form last time out. I think the 3 to 1's a fair price. I think if she was joint favourite at 11 to 4, I wouldn't argue at that. But one I would just want to talk about at a nice price each way, and just on basis of course form, is Vienna Court. I think she's won twice this year at Cheltenham. Her win on New Year's Day, I think it was very, very good. I know she's been poor since, but I think back at Cheltenham, 16 to 1 each way. There's worse each way bets in the race. But was there anyone else in there that you could have an each way squeak at, or was Ellie Mae and been online?
I gave up slightly on this race, if I'm honest. I just find it very hard to find one I'm that keen at.
Yeah, for me personally, if this race wasn't invented, I don't think anyone would say anything. Personally, it's been in the last 2 years. It took out the Novices handicap chase that everyone loved. There was always value, I thought, to find in that race, and I thought there was probably other races you could have swapped to bring this in, but I don't. From last year, probably only because we were all on Ellie Mae and he didn't win. If he'd have won, we'd have said it's the best race ever. But I think this race.
We'll go back in again.
Yeah, we probably all have to have a go on Ellie Mae, won't we, again? So, just to round off part 2 of TWE's Cheltenham Festival preview, is there anything in the handicaps across the Thursday and Friday that you'd like to look at? Izzy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think he's going in the Hunters. Looks like he's going to go in the Hunters Chase on the Friday, and both Ellie Mae and this horse won same day last time out. I think it was last Saturday for Mullins. I quite like Billaway. I still feel the little croak in my voice with the amount of roaring I did last year to get him up, but I quite like Billaway, and you know, one that we're probably all going to be looking forward to see is Tiger Roll.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a betting race for me, but just one we're all going to want to see.
I think Bill Away, yeah, he's got a great shot, hasn't he? He got back to form last time out. It's just a horse that when it almost seems to get in front, you want it to keep going, and it probably needs something to take it with you all the way.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got really good credentials in that race. And obviously, if Tiger Roll, if you did the Paisley Park Tiger Roll double and they both won, I think I think everyone would be on your side. I think even if you're against you. So yeah, definitely two that'll be popular. Frankie, what about you?
Not massively. I tried to stay away from them until we get closer.
Yeah.
Tiger Roll, I think is a bet. I think. What price? Have you got the prices up there, James?
Yeah. Tiger Roll. It was 13-2 back into 11-2, but it's now at the cross country. Let me just have a check on this.
It's even shorter.
It's now into 5-2 now. So it's been backed heavily today because Prengard, the favourite, it wouldn't seem to be in many. Hasn't been declared, but people think. But I'm not really sure on that yet. But 5-2, Tiger Roll's gone into favourite now.
That is short. 365, 2-1. I'm looking at now.
Yeah, about 2 months ago it was 13-2 into 11-2 into 9-2. Now it's 5-2. So.
How great! I think that would get the biggest roar of the week.
Yeah.
Tiger Roll winning that cross country.
Yeah.
I think it's got every chance. I'll probably be backing.
So, guys, that brings an end to part 2 of our Cheltenham Festival preview. I want to thank you both for your insight. And on the Winners Enclosure YouTube, like and subscribe. We're back with more content throughout the weeks. Cheers.